Well, over the last like month and like week, maybe two, forget how long it's been, kind of all blurred at this point. Obviously you've seen me get quite a lot of work done in this car. I made a lot more progress than I was honestly kind of expecting to have made, but you know, figured it out one way or another despite the rain and all the other stuff going on with it. But there comes a time in every good build where you kind of want to pass the torch along to someone else who is a little bit more capable of certain things than you are, and that is what's going on today. So as you can see, I got my trailer ready to be loaded up in a very, very precarious position because this car is stupid low, as I mentioned, and so I'm using some 2x4s to get it, you know, up off the ground as much as I can before it hits the ramps. And I got the trailer tilted all the way back to get the ramps as low as I can get them, and I'm just hoping that this is enough. If I, you know, mess up the lip or whatever, no huge loss, but thankfully I do have a winch in my trailer, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing loaded on here, ready to hit the road, head to Charlotte, about 4.5 hours away from me. Alright, well I got a little bit of tidying up to do, but got it all loaded. Actually, it went a lot more smoothly than I expected, but I also ran into some random issues that I really didn't expect. So, you know, I got the hook kind of stuck around here a little bit, not a big deal, just lifted it up while pulling. But then, not only did the frame rails hit the peak, I guess, of the dovetail, but right in the middle, that is from the transmission. Yeah, I've never hit or bottomed out on the transmission before, so that was interesting. Needless to say, like I've said plenty of times, this car definitely needs to be raised up a little bit. Now we'll figure that out soon. Also, for whatever reason, that tire looks like it's going flat. That's bothering me, but not the end of the world. And then just to put this into perspective, when my FD is on this trailer, I can open the doors with the trailer fenders off and completely clear the door. On this thing, I've got like 3 or 4 inches to go before I could ever clear those tires. That is insane. But anyway, I got it all more or less just well leveled out where I like it, where there's just a little bit of weight on the tongue. Most of the weight's in front of the wheels, all that, yada, yada, yada. Not gonna have issues with trailer sway in the way there, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish packing up because I'm not really gonna be back here for the most part for probably like a week, if not more, so figure may as well get this place all locked up and, you know, all my stuff with me, because while this thing is at this guy's shop getting some things done to it, I'm going to be on the road a lot, hanging out with friends, and also fixing my buddy's Tundra. Got to put both heads back on it. It's a 3UR, so if you ever mess with one of those, you know exactly the nightmare I'm about to go through. But I'm not going to leave you on a cliffhanger here. I'm going to wait till I'm done with this and then show it off at the end of the video, so don't worry about wait for part 2. So I'll see you here in a second. All right, well, it has actually been quite a while since you guys last saw me. It's been a lot more than a couple weeks for reasons we'll get to. But for now, as you can see, I'm just kind of randomly in my backyard here. That's because my driveway is completely full of cars right now. I kind of got everything moved around and cleaned up back here. I'm trying to reclaim my backyard to some degree instead of just having all the cars parked back here like a little mini junkyard. But since the last time you've seen this car, it's got quite a bit of work done to it. Me and my buddy And the shop owner that he knows, that he referred me to get the fabrication work I'm about to show you knocked out, spent a good, like, I think like it was there for about 2 weeks straight, but it was like a week of that was actually involving me and my friend at the shop kind of helping out. And we worked our butts off for the course of a week to get this thing as finished up as we possibly could, trying to get it ready for that drift event. And unfortunately, we didn't make it to the event I wanted to go to, but it might have been for the best, honestly, because the event I was trying to make it to was like a 2-day thing. I only had 2 pairs of tires, like rear tires. Front tires lasted, you know, they'll last like several events, but rear tires we only had a couple pairs of. One of them was old tires anyway, so I realistically wasn't going to make it through a 2-day event anyway, so the second day would have just been spectating. Luckily, you know, between the time I started this build and, you know, the event, I realized that there is another event much closer to my house that was the week after the big event that I was trying to make it to originally. So we didn't quite make the big event, but we were able to kind of reschedule, get everything, like the last little bit of it, knocked out over the next week working on it at my buddy's house, and we managed to get this thing running and driving and ready to take to the drift track. So with that being said, the main thing that I took it to the shop for would be this. This is a full custom weld-in rolled cage made by a person I consider my buddy now, but didn't know beforehand. It was the shop my buddy recommended to me. But the shop is called Exclusive Auto Works down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Eddie there just did an amazing job on this cage. I really didn't give him too many criteria to stick to. I said, do what you want to do, just make it, you know, make it an actual like proper cage that's gonna hold up to, you know, whatever accident I might get into the best of your abilities. I don't really care what the design, everything else is, as long as it's got, I told him I needed the harness bar, and then I told him that I needed the bar behind the dash, which is currently uninstalled. I have the thing kind of taken apart at this point because I was working on doing some painting to it, so I actually wasn't able to paint the roll cage before the event, and I still want to repaint the floor. So a few things in here kind of taken apart, but more or less this is how it looked while I was at the event that I did make it to. Got my fire extinguisher up there. These fit so well. Like, I love the way they just kind of go up with the seat and then more or less flat right here, so you don't really have to worry about like having this huge thing to crawl over every time you get in and out of the car. It's actually a very, I'd say, ergonomically designed roll cage. But yeah, he knocked that out for me, and then I think the last time you guys saw this engine bay, I didn't have any of this going on up here, so Eddie ended up doing a little bit of welding on these pipes for me, just because I have like no experience with TIG welding, so I didn't want to try to knock that out myself, and it was just convenient because it was there anyway. So he knocked those out for me, but I more or less did the cuts in the design to get them how I wanted it. And then me and my friend, he was mostly working on wiring the car. Like I said, my buddy in Charlotte was also helping me with all like a lot of the electrical stuff. So he got the ECU all wired up to make the engine run. All the turbos work. I did hook up the turbos to run non-sequentially though, because I was having the same issue I used to have with my RX-7 drifting in Japan. The sequential changeover just kind of messes me up mid-drift a lot, so I changed it over to just parallel flow, so I'm not going to worry about that. But then I made these custom brackets for my intercooler, my oil cooler, my power steering cooler, which is right underneath. These are just kind of like plated together at the bottom. These upper radiator mounts, and what else did I do? Obviously I cut some extra holes and stuff, and then yeah, I like mounted the power steering reservoir and everything. So oh yeah, and I made this custom bracket for my throttle body linkage. I know somebody was in the comments was telling me it would probably be best to just redo this wire, right, whatever, so it's like the right length. I did look into that. It does look pretty easy. However, by the time I saw your comment, I had already made this. So, and this is working just fine. Like it used to do like a little bit of flex, But honestly, I have it kind of like angled out this way a little bit, so when it does flex, it just kind of pulls it straight and then just tensions up. So it's, I honestly don't have any issues with that. But yep, here it is in all of its sort of wrecked glory post drift event. One of the issues we ran into is I had to replace my ECU because I actually had a 2001 ECU that this engine came out of, and those have an immobilizer built in, and if you don't have the whole harness and the key and everything for that, you're just not going to be able to get the ECU to work. So luckily there was a guy pretty local to us who had one without an immobilizer for, I think it was like 200 bucks shipped. So got that pretty much overnighted so I could finish this thing. It's all functioning. We even got the ETSI, it's like a mechanical input electronic throttle body system. We even got that to work. The ECU, haven't had any issues with like it trying to do traction control or anything like that. It's all like pre-programmed to be off. With the alignment, if you ended up doing the same alignment thing that I was doing to this car, or the S chassis suspension, I ended up putting this to be a caster adjust instead of a camber adjust, because we found that pushing this all the way to the back with it set up to just to control caster actually ended up getting us like a perfect 6-degree caster, which like on both sides, which worked out perfectly, and you still got camber adjustment at the knuckle. So we're doing camber at the knuckle and caster up here, and it worked out perfectly. The only issue I really have with this setup at the track was that the other side knuckle bolts were a little loose. I guess I just didn't tighten them enough, and one of the wheels just cambered in on me halfway through a lap. But took it off the ground, pulled it all the way back out because I had them both all pulled out anyway, and just tightened it back up. Didn't have another issue with it all day. But I do need to realign this a bit because I need to do more more camber up front, because I was having some issues with steering kind of locking up at full lock, and mid drift not wanting to kind of come back on us. And me and my buddy think that that's not so much an issue with the knuckles or anything, so much as it just needs a little more camber, because it was sitting at kind of like a nearly positive camber at full lock. So we think that's the issue. He said he's having a similar issue with his chaser. And then back here, got the fuel cell all wired up. So not a whole lot has changed, honestly, but this is all, dusty back here. Jeez. This is all loomed up, tucked away. It's dirty as hell, obviously. There's holes and things that a bunch of dust gets in here on or through while drifting. And also I was having an issue with this being too full, and it kept like sloshing gas over, which was weird to me because I'm pretty sure that that ball was supposed to keep that from happening, but it didn't, so whatever. But didn't have any issues with fueling, except for fuel pressure was kind of dropping on me midway through the day, so I kept bumping it up to keep it where it's supposed to be, but I kept slowly kind of losing it over time. So I still gotta look into that, but I managed to keep it running with the right amount of fuel and AFRs and everything throughout the day. And then I didn't end up really crashing, but I did end up doing a couple good wall taps. This one was the harder one. You can see it like lifted up the bumper here and took it off the side, but the other side was just a light little scuff. Perfectly executed. But yeah, that's kind of a rundown of just kind of more or less everything that took place at the drift event I went to. It was the place I went to is called Southampton Motor Speedway, and they do drift events pretty much every month, even through the winter. So I'm going to be going to another one here in December if I can fix the last couple of things that did go wrong with this car before then and get some new tires. We'll see what happens. But unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of footage of the event to show you right now, because what happened is about, let's say within the first couple of hours, I had my GoPro mounted to my rear passenger door, and next, like it was still there after a couple of laps, and I was just kind of forgot about it, and then went to look for it to go pick it up, charge it, and it was missing. So kept asking I asked all the people at the track workers and some random people around the pits to see if they found it anywhere, and they were looking hard for it. They said they walked the course like twice and around the whole like perimeter, really trying to help me out, but just unfortunately it just never showed up. So either it's found a nice little crevice to hide in somewhere, or maybe it fell off in the pits and someone wanted a GoPro. So it's whatever. I've replaced it since then. I got a new Hero 12 Black Edition with the media mod and everything now, because it was kind of time to upgrade anyway. I just kind of wish I had my memory card from the old GoPro, but oh well, what can you do? So I'm going to show you any footage that I was able to get from the event from other people. I got a couple of little videos. They're not my best runs, so bear that in mind. Then I got a couple of decent pictures I'll show you. But hopefully I'll have this thing back at the track in a timely manner. We can get some better footage, and this time I won't lose a GoPro, hopefully. But I also want to give a quick shout out to a company that doesn't sponsor me, but did help me quite a bit with getting this thing done and some things that I wasn't able to do myself. So I am kind of delving into 3D printing right now with the help of my friend, who is actually taking like a college course and everything for 3D printing stuff. So he's helped me design some things, but these are all made by a company called KU Works. I'll show you their sticker. These guys, KU Workshop. And he does a lot of 3D printed things for the MX73 Cressida, as well as quite a few other models of Cressida. I think he does a few things for the MX73, and he's trying to work on a lot of like the steering clamshells for the earlier models as well, because these are known for being just the most brittle thing in the world. You look at them too hard and they'll start shattering on you. So got this not only made as a new piece out of ABS plastic or whatever material he uses, but it's also got this little provision for a gauge pod. And then we replaced the center vent with gauge pods as well, the triple gauge pod. He also sent me a double gauge pod in case I didn't like that, but I did like it. And then this, yeah, that goes on that side. And then this would be the radio controls. Obviously I don't have a radio though, so that just kind of pops in right there. There's usually a little surround to make it fit better on the side, but that's where my AFR gauge goes. And then over here, couldn't really run a gauge, I wouldn't be able to see it anyway, but I did get him to make me a little blank off plate for that vent as well. I would have done the same for here, but the bar goes straight through it, so whatever. But they came out fantastic. They fit great. So if you have an MX73 or any like model of Cressida and you want to get some really high quality 3D printed pieces for it, he makes, you know, clamshells, gauge pods. He even makes the little cups for the door handle, as well as the little piece that goes around the door locks. And I want to say he makes, oh yeah, for the factory seats, I'll show you on my red Cressida, but they got a little piece that holds the little bottom lap seat belt, because they got the automatic belts, but then they got the one that goes across your belt. They break all the time, and you gotta like hunt for the seat belt, but he makes those so they don't, you know, break anymore, and they hold your seat belt there, make it easier to get to. Talking about these little guys right here, these always just snap, and then these fall back in here, and so hard to reach. So big thing to get if you have one of these, so you don't have to deal with that later on. But yeah. But anyway, seeing as my GoPro was missing in action for about a couple weeks straight, because I was trying to get a new one, having some difficulty doing that, I've just been knocking out this head gasket job on my red Cressida, getting it ready to put on the market to get rid of it finally. So if you happen to be watching my videos because you're into these chassis and you want to pick one up and you're near-ish to Suffolk, Virginia, I got one that's about to be put up on Marketplace. So if you're looking, this might be a good project for somebody. The engine's good, all new seals throughout the upper end, as well as all the seals for the crankshaft and all that stuff. I've got an extra power steering pump for it, new exhaust hardware, as well as resurfaced the header. All the intake stuff has been bead blasted and cleaned out. I even cleaned out the EGR system, put a new gasket on that, new battery, fresh coolant. I just redid all the AC O-rings. I'm going to try to purge and recharge the system, hopefully get the AC working again. Not that it really matters this time of the year. Brand new bumper lights, you know, put a OEM lip on it, as well as just kind of like everything bent back into shape down here, so it's got a good valence as well. If you're familiar with these cars, you know this valence down here is just prone to be destroyed. You know, it's just like bent up out of shape, everything. But you know, the grill has a couple missing tabs, things like that. Really not a whole lot bad with this car. Almost everything on it works. It just has a little bit of like weird electric issues in the interior. Some things like the gear shifter needs to be like pressed forward sometimes to get the engine to start, because I guess it's got a touchy neutral safety switch, things like that. This lid is in good condition. I'm in the process of re-dyeing all the interiors, so these usually fade pretty bad, but I got them all dyed back to red, and it's honestly a pretty good finish. It's a little lighter, somewhat noticeably lighter at the back, but it's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be straight up white. It will need a new trunk, preferably. It's all rotted out around the seal area, but luckily the body itself is pretty much sort of rust-free. There's a couple little spots, you know, like these are pretty typical. It's got a little spot right here, but it's all stuff I really just don't want to deal with. So I'd rather just give somebody else a deal on it and have them, or let them have the opportunity to get it perfect, or just beat on it. Does not come with the wheels. Don't even ask about the wheels. They come with OEM wheels, and I gotta weld in the new cap. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty quick little update on just what's been going on over here, seeing as I haven't been able to film for a few weeks now. Gonna be putting out some videos pretty soon about more than likely finishing up my buddy's green Cressida, because that's next on the chopping block. But then I got a couple other things around here that I gotta knock out off camera, just because they're really not anything worth filming. Also, this is the first time I'm testing it, so hopefully it's working all right. I got this media mod for the GoPro now, so hopefully get rid of some of the wind noise that's been plaguing me since I started this channel. You know, fingers crossed it works, but I don't know yet, so we'll find out here in a minute. But hopefully it's a little bit of improvement. There's a lot of wind coming by right now, so it'll be a good test. But if you enjoyed this one and you want to see some more stuff, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video, and leave a like down below. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys next time.